The legend. More than 2,000 years ago, along the fertile banks of the Nile River, a woman rose to power whose name would echo through history forever. She has been called a seductress, a genius, a manipulator, and one of the most ambitious rulers the ancient world had ever known. But who was Cleopatra really? Was she simply a legendary beauty who captured the hearts of powerful men, or a brilliant strategist fighting to save her kingdom from the greatest empire on earth? This is the true story of Cleopatra VII, the last queen of ancient Egypt, a child of power and danger. Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE in Alexandria, the shining capital of Egypt. At that time, Egypt was no longer ruled by native pharaohs. Instead, it was controlled by the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek royal family descended from one of Alexander the Great's generals. For nearly 300 years, they ruled Egypt as outsiders. They spoke Greek. They followed Greek traditions, and many never even learned the Egyptian language. But Cleopatra would be different. Her father, King Ptolemy XII, ruled a fragile kingdom filled with debt, rebellion, and political intrigue. Rome was growing stronger every year, and Egypt survived only because it supplied Rome with grain, the food that fed millions. As a child, Cleopatra witnessed exile, riots, and betrayal inside her own family. In the royal palace, power struggles were normal, and trust was dangerous. She learned early that survival required intelligence, patience, and courage. Education of a queen. Unlike many rulers of her time, Cleopatra received an extraordinary education. She studied philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and diplomacy at the legendary Library of Alexandria, the greatest center of knowledge in the ancient world. She was highly intelligent and deeply curious. Ancient writers claimed she spoke many languages, possibly 9, including Egyptian. This made her unique among her dynasty. For the first time, an Egyptian ruler could speak directly to the people without translators. Cleopatra understood something few leaders realized. Language creates loyalty. She also presented herself as the living goddess Isis, blending religion and politics to strengthen her authority. She was not preparing to inherit power. She was preparing to command it. The fight for the throne. When her father died in 51 BCE, Cleopatra became co-ruler with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. According to royal tradition, they were also married. But peace did not last long. Cleopatra attempted to rule independently and placed her image on royal coins, a bold declaration of authority. Her brother's advisors saw this as a threat. Soon, Cleopatra was forced into exile and driven out of Alexandria. At only 21 years old, she lost everything. Yet she refused to disappear. She gathered loyal supporters and raised an army in the desert, waiting for the perfect moment to return. That moment arrived with the coming of Rome, the arrival of Julius Caesar. In 48 BCE, Roman general Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt while pursuing his enemy Pompey. Egypt suddenly became the center of Roman politics. Cleopatra understood the opportunity immediately. According to legend, she secretly entered Caesar's palace hidden inside a rolled carpet delivered as a gift. When it was opened, the young queen emerged before the most powerful man in Rome. It was a dramatic entrance, but also a brilliant political move. Cleopatra needed Roman support. Caesar needed stability in Egypt. Their alliance would change history. War for a kingdom. Caesar declared Cleopatra the rightful ruler, sparking a violent civil war in Alexandria. Battles erupted across the city. Ships burned in the harbor. Smoke filled the skies. After months of fighting, Cleopatra's brother was defeated and drowned while fleeing the battlefield. Cleopatra reclaimed her throne. Soon afterward, she gave birth to a son called Caesarion, whom she claimed was Caesar's child. For Cleopatra, this child represented hope, a future alliance between Egypt and Rome. Cleopatra in Rome. Cleopatra later traveled to Rome as Caesar's honored guest. Romans were fascinated by her wealth, intelligence, and foreign elegance. Some admired her. Others feared her influence. Caesar even placed a golden statue of Cleopatra in a temple dedicated to Venus. But Rome distrusted kings and queens. Rumors spread that Caesar planned to crown himself king. In 44 BCE, Roman senators assassinated him. Cleopatra suddenly lost her greatest ally. She returned to Egypt quickly, knowing Rome would soon descend into chaos. Mark Antony and a new alliance. After Caesar's death, Rome divided among powerful leaders. One of them was Mark Antony, a skilled general and loyal supporter of Caesar. In 41 BCE, Antony summoned Cleopatra to meet him. She arrived in unforgettable fashion. Her ship sailed covered in gold, with purple sails glowing in the sun, surrounded by music and incense. It was not vanity. It was strategy. Cleopatra understood the power of spectacle. Antony was captivated. Their partnership soon became both political and romantic. Together, they built a powerful alliance in the eastern Mediterranean. Enemies in Rome. But in Rome, a rival leader named Octavian watched carefully. He launched a propaganda campaign, portraying Antony as a man corrupted by an Eastern queen. Romans were told Cleopatra planned to rule their empire. Fear turned into anger. War became inevitable. The Battle of Actium. In 31 BCE, their forces met Octavian's navy at the Battle of Actium. It was one of the largest naval battles of the ancient world. Outnumbered and outmaneuvered, Cleopatra's fleet retreated. Antony followed her ships, abandoning much of his army. The defeat destroyed their power. Octavian marched toward Egypt. The end was near. The final choice. In 30 BCE, Roman forces entered Alexandria. Believing Cleopatra had died, Antony took his own life. He was carried to her mausoleum, where he died in her arms. Now alone, Cleopatra faced capture. Octavian intended to parade her through Rome as a prisoner, a humiliation she refused to accept. According to tradition, Cleopatra chose death by poison, possibly from a sacred Egyptian serpent. She died at 39 years old. Soon after, her son Caesarion was executed. Egypt became a Roman province. The age of the pharaohs ended forever. Legacy of Cleopatra. For centuries, Roman historians portrayed Cleopatra as a dangerous seductress. But modern history tells a different story. She was a diplomat, a scholar, a strategist, and a ruler determined to protect her kingdom against impossible odds. Her greatest strength was not beauty. It was intelligence. The last pharaoh. Cleopatra's death marked the end of ancient Egypt as an independent civilization. Rome rose as the dominant power of the Mediterranean. Yet Cleopatra's legend never disappeared. For more than 2,000 years, artists, writers, and historians have retold her story. Because Cleopatra represents something timeless. The struggle of a small kingdom against a superpower. The power of intelligence in a world ruled by armies. And the determination of a queen who refused to surrender her dignity. Cleopatra was not just the last queen of Egypt. She was the final symbol of an ancient world, standing against the rise of a new one. And long after empires vanished, her name survived them all. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more journeys into history. Share this video, and leave a comment below. Your voice keeps history alive.